Stop right there. Stop confusing being easy to manage with being led by God. Some of you have called yourself spiritual, when the truth is, you have just become convenient. You are easy to silence, easy to move, easy to guilt, easy to control. And because people like you that way, you think God is pleased with you. But hear me carefully. God never called you to be pleasant at the expense of purpose. There is a kind of niceness that has nothing to do with holiness. It is not fruit of the Spirit. It is fear with a smile on its face. It is compromise dressed in soft language. It is disobedience wearing church clothes. You keep saying, "I just don't want any trouble." No, sometimes you don't want responsibility. You keep saying, "I just want peace." No, sometimes you want approval. You keep saying, "I'm just trying to be loving." No, sometimes you are trying to avoid rejection. Now, don't misunderstand me. I am not telling you to be rude. I am not telling you to be harsh. I am not telling you to become proud, arrogant, insensitive, and difficult. That is not kingdom either. But there is a difference between being kind and being controlled. There is a difference between being gentle and being governed by fear. There is a difference between having the character of Christ and having the personality people can manipulate. Many people are praised for being nice while they are quietly disobeying God. They are applauded by people while betraying their assignment. They are called humble while surrendering their convictions. They are called sweet while burying their voice. They are called peaceful while dying internally under the weight of words they never said, boundaries they never set, and instructions from God they never obeyed because somebody might not like it. That is not godliness. That is captivity. Niceness wants approval. Godly character wants alignment. Niceness asks, "Will they still like me?" Character asks, "Is this true?" Niceness asks, "How can I keep them comfortable?" Character asks, "How can I remain faithful?" Niceness bows to the room. Character bows to the king. And whenever your desire to be liked becomes stronger than your desire to obey, people have become your Lord. Let me tell you something. The kingdom of God is not built by people who need everybody to understand them. It is built by people who can hear God, obey God, and stand still when the crowd misunderstands the instruction. Your assignment will offend some expectations. Your obedience will disappoint some people. Your clarity will make some manipulators uncomfortable. But if you are more committed to being acceptable than being faithful, you will spend your whole life polished, praised, and purposeless. You were not designed by your Creator to be a decoration in everybody else's life. You were designed for assignment. You were manufactured with intention. Your voice was not given to you so you could hide it behind nervous laughter. Your discernment was not given to you so you could ignore it to keep people comfortable. Your strength was not given to you so you could apologize for having it. Your convictions were not given to you so you could trade them for invitations, compliments, and temporary acceptance. So here is the question, and I want you to let it search you. Is your niceness helping you obey God, or is it helping you hide from responsibility? Is it producing fruit, or is it protecting fear? Is it making you more faithful, or is it making you more available to people who have no respect for your purpose? If you are ready to stop living for approval and start living from assignment, then stay with me. Listen deeply. Don't just hear this with your ears. Let it confront the place where you have been calling bondage humility. And if this word is already finding you, subscribe, not as a casual viewer, but as a person who is ready to be corrected, strengthened, and released into the life God designed before people ever had an opinion about it. Now, here is where people get confused. The moment you start talking about boundaries, somebody will accuse you of bitterness. The moment you stop letting people waste your time, somebody will call you proud. The moment you stop answering every demand, every call, every emotional emergency, somebody will say you have changed. And sometimes they are right. You have changed. You have stopped confusing love with unlimited access. But don't twist this word. I am not giving you permission to become rude. I am not giving you permission to become cruel. I am not giving you permission to walk around arrogant, insensitive, hard-faced, and spiritually proud, acting like everybody is beneath you because you discovered the word boundaries. That is not maturity. That is another kind of bondage. Some people leave people-pleasing and enter pride. They stop being controlled by fear, but then they become controlled by ego. That is not freedom. That is just a different prison. Boundaries are not bitterness. Boundaries are stewardship. Boundaries say, I know what God gave me, and I refuse to let disorder manage it. Bitterness wants revenge. Boundaries want order. Bitterness wants to punish people. Boundaries protect purpose. Bitterness rehearses the wound. Boundaries honor the assignment. Don't let wounded people teach you that every limit is hatred. Even God has boundaries. Even Jesus had limits. Even the Holy One did not make himself available to every demand at every moment. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is strength under the government of love. Write that in your spirit. Kindness is strength under the government of love. It has power, but it does not abuse power. It has truth, but it does not use truth as a weapon for ego. It has courage, but it does not confuse courage with cruelty. Kindness can speak softly, but it is not soft in conviction. Kindness can be patient, but patience is not permission for dysfunction to continue forever. Niceness, many times, is weakness under the government of fear. Niceness is not always love. Sometimes niceness is your fear asking to be praised. It says, I will keep smiling so they don't reject me. It says, I will stay silent so they don't attack me. It says, I will agree so they don't leave me. That is not the fruit of the Spirit. That is social performance. That is theater. That is a soul auditioning for acceptance from people who were never assigned to define you. The fruit of the Spirit is not cowardice. Love does not mean you have no backbone. Joy does not mean you ignore reality. Peace does not mean you avoid every necessary conversation. Patience does not mean you let rebellion mature in your presence. Kindness carries truth. Kindness carries correction. Kindness carries courage. Kindness can look somebody in the eye and say, I love you too much to lie to you. Niceness says, I would rather let you stay broken than risk you being uncomfortable with me. Look at Jesus. Don't look at religious imagination. Look at Jesus. He healed the broken. He touched the untouchable. He blessed children. He restored dignity to the rejected. He fed hungry people. He wept with grieving people. But the same Jesus confronted hypocrites. The same Jesus rebuked religious actors. The same Jesus overturned tables when worship became business. The same Jesus called out corruption in the house of God. And he never sinned against love. So what does that tell you? Love is not the absence of confrontation. Love is the presence of truth with redemptive purpose. Love does not confront to destroy. Love confronts to restore. Love does not expose to humiliate. Love exposes to heal. Love does not correct because it is irritated. Love corrects because destiny is too valuable to leave in deception. Kindness serves truth. Cowardice hides behind softness. Kindness says what needs to be said with clean hands and a pure motive. Cowardice says nothing and calls it peace. Kindness may tremble, but it obeys. Cowardice smiles, but it betrays. Kindness protects the person and honors the principle. Cowardice protects the image and sacrifices the assignment. So stop calling yourself kind when you are only afraid. Stop calling it love when it is really avoidance. Stop calling it wisdom when it is really the terror of being disliked. God did not give you truth so you could bury it under a polite personality. He gave you truth so you could carry it with grace, release it with courage, and obey Him even when your voice shakes. And this is where religious guilt becomes dangerous, because some of you were trained to feel holy only when you are disappearing. You were taught to call self-abandonment humility. You were taught to call fear spirituality. You were taught that if you have needs, you are selfish. If you have limits, you are unloving. If you have conviction, you are arrogant. If you have direction, you are rebellious. So now, every time God tells you to stand up, something in your religious memory tells you to sit down. That is not always the Holy Spirit. Sometimes that is conditioning. Sometimes that is manipulation with Bible language around it. Sometimes that is the voice of people who benefited from your silence, dressed up like the voice of God. They told you, be nice. They told you, be humble. They told you, be available. They told you, be understanding. They told you, be patient. And those words can be holy words when they are in the right hands. But in the hands of control, they become chains. Be nice, even while they dishonor what God gave you. Be humble, even while they erase your assignment. Be available, even while your own house is out of order. Be understanding, even while they keep repeating the same dysfunction and requiring you to absorb the consequences. Be patient, even when God has already told you to move, confront, decide, separate, and obey. No, stop right there. Patience is not permission to disobey God slowly. False humility is a prison because it makes you feel guilty for obeying the God who designed you. It makes you apologize for strength. It makes you shrink from authority. It makes you speak as if you have no assignment, no conviction, no discernment, no boundaries, no right to steward your own life. It makes you say, I'm nobody, when God never asked you to insult His design. Humility is not pretending God did not put anything in you. Humility is recognizing that what is in you came from Him and must answer back to Him. There is a difference between humility and erasure. Humility bows before God. Erasure bows before people. Humility says, Lord, I am yours. Erasure says, people, I am yours. Humility receives correction. Erasure receives control. Humility can serve without needing applause. Erasure serves because it is terrified of disapproval. Humility lowers ego. Erasure destroys identity. And many believers are not humble. They are erased. You were designed by a manufacturer. You are not public property. You are not emotional furniture. You are not a dumping ground for everybody's crisis, everybody's insecurity, everybody's opinion, and everybody's need for access. If God manufactured you with purpose, then letting everyone misuse you is not humility. It is poor stewardship of divine property. You do not own yourself, but they do not own you either. You belong to God. That means your time belongs to God. Your body belongs to God. Your mind belongs to God. Your gift belongs to God. Your yes belongs to God, and your no must also answer to God. Be careful of people who only use spiritual words when your obedience inconveniences them. They did not call you proud when you were exhausted serving them. They did not call you selfish when you kept showing up for them. They did not call you difficult when you kept saying yes. But the moment you obey God and set a boundary, suddenly they become theologians. Suddenly they have a scripture. Suddenly they talk about love, humility, forgiveness, patience, and sacrifice. No, listen carefully. Sometimes people are not defending love. They are defending access. And you must learn the difference between conviction and condemnation. Conviction comes from God to restore alignment. Condemnation comes to keep you small, ashamed, and passive. Conviction says, "Come back to truth." Condemnation says, "Who do you think you are?" Conviction leads you to repentance. Condemnation leads you to hiding. Conviction corrects behavior without destroying identity. Condemnation attacks identity so you never correct behavior. Conviction brings you closer to God. Condemnation makes you afraid to move. So stop obeying condemnation and calling it sensitivity. Stop letting guilt govern what God gave you to steward. Stop allowing people to weaponize spiritual language against divine instruction. If God told you to speak, speak with grace. If God told you to move, move with obedience. If God told you to separate, separate without hatred. If God told you to decide, stop asking for permission from people who profit from your confusion. False humility will keep you small and call it meekness. It will keep you silent and call it peace. It will keep you accessible and call it love. But true humility is not weakness. True humility is submission to God's design. True humility says, "I will not exaggerate myself, but I will not deny what God gave me. I will not worship my gift, but I will not bury it. I will not be arrogant, but I will not be afraid." That is freedom. That is stewardship. That is obedience. So rule number 1 is this: stop calling fear peace. Stop dressing fear in spiritual language and presenting it to God like obedience. Stop saying, "I'm just keeping the peace," when what you really mean is, "I am afraid of what will happen if I tell the truth." That is not peace. That is management. That is survival. That is emotional negotiation with dysfunction. Peace is not the absence of a conversation. Peace is the presence of order. Peace is not everybody liking you. Peace is your life being aligned with truth. Peace is not silence in the room while rebellion sits comfortably at the table. Peace is when truth has its rightful place, love has its rightful tone, and purpose has its rightful authority. If your peace requires you to betray truth, it is not peace. It is fear with religious clothing. Now I know what you are thinking. You say, "But I don't want conflict." Listen to me. Nobody mature loves unnecessary conflict. Nobody governed by the Spirit wakes up looking for fights. But there is a difference between avoiding foolish arguments and avoiding divine responsibility. There is a difference between refusing drama and refusing obedience. Some things are not drama. Some things are disorder, asking to remain undisturbed. Some conversations are not attacks. They are corrections. Some boundaries are not rejection. They are restoration of order. Many nice people are not peaceful. They are exhausted. They are anxious. They are smiling on the outside and collapsing on the inside because they have become emotional shock absorbers for everybody else's immaturity. Everybody brings their pressure, their crisis, their offense, their confusion, their demands, and you absorb it. You soften it. You explain it. You excuse it. You carry it. And while you are protecting everybody else from the consequences of their dysfunction, your own assignment is collapsing behind you. That is not love. That is mismanagement. You cannot keep absorbing disorder and call it ministry. You cannot keep swallowing truth and call it wisdom. You cannot keep abandoning your own assignment and call it sacrifice. Sacrifice is holy when God requires it. Sacrifice becomes bondage when fear demands it. There are people who do not want peace. They want access without accountability. They want relationship without responsibility. They want your yes without respect for your purpose. And if you keep calling that peace, you will become the place where dysfunction comes to rest. Peace without truth is anesthesia. It numbs the pain but does not heal the disease. Truth without love is injury. It may be accurate, but it leaves blood on the floor. But love with truth is healing. Love with truth says, I will not lie to you to keep you comfortable. Love with truth says, I will not destroy you, but I will not enable you. Love with truth says, I care about you too much to participate in your disorder, and I care about God too much to betray what He told me. Purpose requires decisions, and decisions disappoint people who benefited from your indecision. Let me say that again. Your decisions will disappoint people who benefited from your indecision. As long as you were confused, they could direct you. As long as you were silent, they could define you. As long as you were available, they could drain you. But the moment you become clear, the moment you say, this is what God has assigned to me, the moment you stop explaining yourself to people who have no respect for your obedience, they will accuse you of disturbing the peace. No, you are not disturbing peace. You are disturbing control. You are disturbing manipulation. You are disturbing the false order that was built on your silence. If God gave you a voice, silence can become disobedience. Not every silence is wisdom. Some silence is fear. Some silence is agreement with a lie. Some silence is cooperation with disorder. There are times when you must be quiet and let God work. But there are also times when God says, speak. Speak with humility. Speak with restraint. Speak with clean motives. But speak. Because a buried voice does not become holy just because it is quiet. Stop protecting dysfunction in the name of peace. Stop letting your nervous system become the altar where everybody else's disorder is worshipped. Stop sacrificing your assignment to avoid somebody's reaction. Peace is not fragile when it is built on truth. Peace becomes fragile only when it is built on pretending. And anything that needs your silence to survive is not peace. It is a prison. So, from today, let your peace be governed by truth. Let your love have a backbone. Let your kindness carry conviction. Let your boundaries speak where your fear used to apologize. You do not have to be cruel to be clear. You do not have to be loud to be strong. You do not have to be arrogant to be obedient. But you must stop betraying truth just to keep people comfortable. God did not design you to be a hiding place for fear. He designed you to carry purpose with courage, with love, with order, and with a voice that answers to Him first. Rule number 2. Stop letting access replace assignment. Not everyone who needs you has a right to access you. Let that correct you. Let that deliver you. Let that disturb every false burden you have been carrying in the name of being a good person. Need is not always assignment. Urgency is not always instruction. A ringing phone is not always a divine call. A crying person is not always your responsibility. A crisis does not automatically become your command. Some of you have been living as though every demand is God speaking. No, sometimes it is just disorder looking for a servant. Sometimes it is immaturity looking for a manager. Sometimes it is another person's lack of discipline trying to become your emergency. Your availability must be governed by your assignment, not by everyone else's expectation. If God has given you a purpose, then your time is not empty space for people to fill. Your energy is not public property. Your mind is not an open field for everybody's crisis to walk through. Your body is not a machine built to answer every need until it breaks down. You are a steward, and a steward does not distribute resources according to pressure. A steward distributes resources according to purpose. Look at Jesus. He loved the crowds, but he did not let the crowds set his schedule. He fed them, he taught them, he healed them. He had compassion on them. But he also withdrew. He went to lonely places to pray. He crossed to the other side. He left towns while people were still looking for him. He did not confuse popularity with assignment. He did not let human demand redefine divine mission. He never allowed the crowd to become his compass. Some of you love people, but you have allowed people to become your compass. Their disappointment tells you what to do. Their offense tells you where to go. Their emergency tells you what to cancel. Their approval tells you whether you were faithful. That is dangerous. When people become your compass, God's instruction becomes background noise. You start moving because they reacted, not because God spoke. There is a difference between compassion and captivity. Compassion responds from purpose. Captivity reacts from guilt. Compassion says, I have something from God to give, and I will give it in order. Captivity says, if I don't respond right now, they may be upset with me. Compassion is governed by love. Captivity is governed by fear. Compassion pours from a filled vessel. Captivity leaks from a wounded one. Compassion can help and still have limits. Captivity has no limits because it is terrified of consequences. And hear me carefully. Unlimited access always has a cost. It will cost you rest. It will cost you clarity. It will cost you prayer. It will cost you your family. It will cost you your work. It will cost you obedience that required focus. You will be exhausted and call it ministry. You will be resentful and call it sacrifice. You will be distracted and call it love. You will pray shallow prayers because your mind is crowded with everybody else's emergencies. You will neglect the people assigned to your house while trying to rescue people who only love your availability. You will have unfinished work, delayed obedience, and a tired soul, all because you never learned to say, I am not available for that. Boundaries are sacred. Boundaries protect the assignment. Boundaries protect the family. Boundaries protect the mind. Boundaries protect the body. Boundaries protect the future God placed inside you. A boundary is not you saying, I do not care. A boundary is you saying, I care in order. Love without order becomes chaos. Service without order becomes slavery. Availability without order becomes self-destruction. Stop feeling guilty because you cannot be everywhere. Even Jesus was not everywhere. Stop feeling guilty because you cannot answer everybody. Even Jesus did not answer every question. Stop feeling guilty because you cannot carry every burden. You are not the Savior. You are a servant. And when servants try to become saviors, they burn out, they break down, and then they blame the people they never had the courage to govern. If you do not govern your availability, other people's emergencies will become the architecture of your life. Their chaos will build your schedule. Their opinions will build your identity. Their needs will build your priorities. And one day, you will look around and realize you are living in a house you never designed, built by demands God never assigned. So take your time back. Take your mind back. Take your prayer life back. Take your family back. Take your assignment back. Be compassionate, but do not be captive. Be generous, but do not be governed. Be loving, but do not be lawless with your own life. God did not give you purpose so you could spend your whole life reacting. He gave you purpose so you could move with order, discernment, courage, and obedience. Rule number 3. Stop apologizing for divine design. Stop shrinking what God made because somebody else is uncomfortable with the shape of your assignment. You were not manufactured to be acceptable to everyone. You were manufactured to fulfill a specific purpose. And purpose is not democratic. Purpose does not ask the crowd for permission. Purpose does not wait for applause. Purpose comes from the manufacturer, and the manufacturer does not consult the product about its design. Some of you have spent your whole life trying to become less of what God made you, so people will feel more comfortable around you. You lower your voice. You hide your gift. You dull your conviction. You reduce your excellence. You soften your clarity. You act confused when you are not confused. You pretend you do not know what God showed you because the people around you are intimidated by certainty. No, stop right there. That is not humility. That is betrayal with manners. You insult the designer when you apologize for the design. If God made you discerning, stop apologizing because you can see what others ignore. If God made you bold, stop apologizing because your obedience has volume. If God made you strategic, stop apologizing because you think in patterns. If God made you creative, stop apologizing because your mind does not move like everybody else's. Your difference is not an inconvenience. Your difference is evidence. It is evidence that you were customized. It is evidence that heaven was intentional. It is evidence that you are not random, not accidental, not spare material left over from somebody else's destiny. Your fingerprint is not an apology. Your conviction is not an apology. Your calling is not an apology. Your voice is not an apology. Your anointing is not an apology. Your strength is not an apology. Your sensitivity is not an apology. Your intelligence is not an apology. Your burden is not an apology. God did not give you uniqueness so you could spend your life explaining why you have it. He gave you uniqueness because your assignment requires it. And hear me carefully. Imitation is often people-pleasing in disguise. You become what others prefer because you are afraid to become what God intended. You copy their language. You copy their pace. You copy their personality. You copy their priorities. You copy their weakness and call it belonging. But you were born as an original. And every time you imitate for acceptance, You trade your design for applause. That is expensive. The approval of people is too cheap a reward for the death of your originality. The enemy of your destiny is not always hatred. Sometimes it is imitation. Sometimes it is the slow pressure to become normal, normal enough to be accepted, quiet enough to be tolerated, predictable enough to be controlled, small enough to be invited. But your assignment may require you to be misunderstood. Your assignment may require you to stand out. Your assignment may require you to walk in a rhythm that others cannot explain because they did not receive your instructions. Stop making people's comfort the measurement of your obedience. They may be uncomfortable because your discipline exposes their laziness. They may be uncomfortable because your clarity exposes their confusion. They may be uncomfortable because your courage exposes their fear. That does not mean you are wrong. It may mean you are a mirror. The goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be faithful with what heaven assigned. Move from shame to stewardship. Stop saying, "I'm sorry," for what God told you to carry. Say, "Lord, teach me how to manage it well." Not pride, stewardship. Not arrogance, obedience. Not performance, faithfulness. Be who God designed, with clean motives and steady hands. Stop shrinking. Stop hiding. Stop editing your divine design for human approval. The product must answer to the manufacturer before it answers to the market. And your life must answer to God before it answers to people. Rule number 4. Choose obedience over approval, because approval is addictive. Do not underestimate it. Approval gives you quick emotional payment. It gives you a smile, a compliment, an invitation, a seat at the table, a little applause, a little warmth, a little feeling that says, "They like me." And if you are not careful, you will become a slave to that feeling. You will start making eternal decisions for temporary emotional payment. Obedience does not always pay you quickly. Obedience builds fruit you may not see immediately. Obedience builds roots. Obedience builds authority. Obedience builds trust with God. Approval can make you feel good today, but obedience can produce something that blesses generations. Approval feeds the ego. Obedience feeds the assignment. Approval wants a reaction. Obedience wants fruit. Approval asks, "Did they like it?" Obedience asks, "Did God require it?" And this is where many people lose their purpose without ever committing obvious rebellion. They do not run from God loudly. They drift from Him politely. They say yes when God said no. They stay when God said leave. They speak softly when God said confront. They remain available when God said withdraw. They keep explaining when God said stop. They keep tolerating when God said correct. And then they call it love. No, stop right there. That is not always love. Sometimes that is fear with a gentle voice. The person who needs approval to obey is still being governed by people. I do not care how spiritual you sound. I do not care how many scriptures you quote. If you cannot move until people agree, you are not free. If you cannot speak until people clap, you are not free. If you cannot obey until people understand, you are not free. You may love God with your mouth, but people are still holding the remote control to your decisions. Applause can make you visible, but obedience makes you trustworthy. Visibility is not authority. Popularity is not authority. Being celebrated is not authority. There are people who are clapped for by crowds but cannot be trusted by heaven. There are people who are known by everybody but not dependable before God. Do not confuse noise with weight. Do not confuse attention with approval from God. Human applause is loud, but it is often light. Divine trust may be quiet, but it is heavy. The enemy does not always destroy purpose by getting you to rebel. Sometimes he destroys purpose by making you excessively concerned with being liked. He will not always tempt you to sin publicly. Sometimes he will tempt you to be agreeable when you should be obedient. He will tempt you to be sweet when you should be clear. He will tempt you to preserve relationships that are killing your assignment. He will tempt you to choose peace with people over alignment with God. And if he can make you addicted to being liked, he does not need to make you wicked. He only needs to make you manageable. Mature love is not addicted to approval. Mature love can disappoint people temporarily in order to honor God permanently. Mature love can say, "I know this hurts your expectation, but I must obey." Mature love can say, "I care about you, but I cannot betray what God told me." Mature love can say, "I will not use love as an excuse to live in disobedience." Immature love needs everybody smiling. Mature love needs God pleased. Immature love protects feelings at any cost. Mature love protects destiny, truth, order, and assignment. Every assignment has a moment when you must choose. You must choose between being celebrated by people and being clear before God. You must choose between applause and authority. You must choose between comfort and conviction. You must choose between being understood by the crowd and being faithful to the command. And that moment will reveal who governs you. So stop asking, "Will they like me?" Ask, "Did God instruct me?" Stop asking, "Will they leave?" Ask, "Will I be faithful?" Stop asking, "Will they clap?" Ask, "Will heaven trust me?" Because when this life is finished, you will not stand before the crowd that applauded you. You will stand before the God who assigned you. Choose obedience. Choose truth. Choose the assignment. Approval is too small a God to rule a life that was designed for divine purpose. Rule number 5. Let your no become a holy word. Stop treating no like it is a curse word. Stop acting as if every refusal is rebellion, every limit is hatred, every boundary is pride. No is not always negative. Sometimes no is the fence around your obedience. Sometimes no is the wall around your assignment. Sometimes no is the word that protects the yes God gave you. A holy yes cannot survive without a holy no. If you say yes to everything, your yes becomes weak, diluted, confused, and unavailable when God actually requires it. You cannot say yes to your assignment and yes to every distraction. You cannot say yes to divine purpose and yes to manipulation. You cannot say yes to your family, your prayer life, your health, your calling, your future, and then say yes to every person who demands access because they are uncomfortable with your obedience. Something must be refused. Something must be denied. Something must be left outside the gate. You need to learn how to say no to manipulation, no to unnecessary drama, no to premature access, no to emotional blackmail, no to assignments God never gave you, no to conversations designed only to pull you back into confusion, no to people who want explanation but not understanding, no to emergencies created by repeated irresponsibility, no to being used as a substitute for someone else's discipline. No to the expectation that love means unlimited availability. No. No can be holy. No can be clean. No can be obedient. Now, I know what you are thinking. You say, but if I say no, they may be hurt. Listen carefully. You are not responsible for managing every reaction to your obedience. You are responsible for obeying with the right spirit. A clean no does not have to be cruel. A clean no can be loving, calm, brief, and firm. You do not have to attack people to refuse them. You do not have to insult them to set a boundary. You do not have to raise your voice to establish order. You can say, I cannot do that. You can say, that does not align with what I am assigned to right now. You can say, I love you, but I am not available for this. You can say it without hatred, without drama, without performance, and without apology for obeying God. But some of you are still trying to make your no acceptable to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. Stop right there. Over-explaining is often fear trying to sound responsible. You explain, then explain the explanation, then defend the explanation, then soften the defense, then apologize for the softness, and by the time you are finished, your boundary has no strength left. If people require 10 paragraphs before they respect your no, they do not respect your no. They respect control. They respect access. They respect the version of you they can negotiate with. A boundary is not a debate. A boundary is a line. You can clarify it, but you do not have to keep defending it until everybody approves it. There are some people who are not confused. They are inconvenienced. There are some people who do not need more information. They need more control. There are some people who are not asking questions to understand your boundary. They are asking questions to find a weakness in it. A seed cannot become a tree if it keeps letting every hand dig it up to prove it is growing. Let that sink into your spirit. A seed has to stay covered. A seed has to stay planted. A seed has to endure hiddenness. A seed cannot answer every curious hand, every impatient voice, every person saying, "Show me what is happening. Prove to me that you are changing. Prove to me that God is working. Prove to me that your boundary is necessary." No. If the seed keeps coming out of the soil to prove growth, it will die before it becomes fruit. Some of you are killing what God planted because you keep exposing it to people who were never assigned to cultivate it. You keep opening your process to critics. You keep handing your peace to dramatic people. You keep letting emotional blackmail dig into the soil of your obedience. If you loved me, you would. If you were really humble, you would. If you were really Christian, you would. That is manipulation, wearing religious clothing. Love does not require you to abandon God's instruction. Humility does not require you to surrender your assignment to people's appetite. When God gives you an assignment, every yes and every no must serve that assignment. Your yes must be holy, and your no must be holy. Say yes to what builds purpose. Say no to what drains it. Say yes to divine instruction. Say no to emotional pressure. Say yes to people God assigned you to serve. Say no to people trying to own what only God has the right to govern. From today, stop letting guilt write your schedule. Stop letting pressure choose your priorities. Stop letting fear edit your obedience. Let your no become a holy word, not bitter, not rude, not defensive, holy, firm, clear, governed by God, because a holy no protects a holy yes. And your assignment is too important to be sacrificed on the altar of being endlessly available. Now, bring it all together. Stop calling fear peace. Stop letting access replace assignment. Stop apologizing for divine design. Choose obedience over approval. Let your no become a holy word. These are not cute statements. These are not little sayings to make you feel better for a moment. These are governing principles.
These are requirements for anybody who has decided that their life will answer to God before it answers to people. Because here is the truth. You cannot fulfill a God-given assignment while living as a prisoner of human approval. You cannot carry divine purpose and keep asking everybody for permission. You cannot walk in truth and keep negotiating with fear. You cannot build what God showed you while spending all your strength trying to keep people comfortable with your obedience. At some point, you must decide who has the final authority over your life. Stop right there. I know what you are thinking. You are saying, but I don't want to become hard. I don't want to become cold. I don't want to stop loving people. Listen to me carefully. God is not freeing you from love. He is freeing you from counterfeit love. He is freeing you from the kind of love that requires you to betray truth. He is freeing you from the kind of love that keeps you exhausted, resentful, silent, confused, and available to everyone except the one who assigned you. Real love does not require self-betrayal. Real love does not demand that you abandon obedience to prove devotion. Counterfeit love says, if you love me, you will let me control you. Real love says, I can love you and still obey God. Counterfeit love says, if you are humble, you will make yourself smaller. Real love says, humility is not denying design. Humility is submitting design back to the designer. Counterfeit love says, keep the peace, even if it costs you truth. Real love says, peace without truth is bondage wearing a smile. God is not asking you to become hard. He is asking you to become whole. He is not asking you to become rude. He is asking you to become governed. He is not asking you to become distant from people. He is asking you to stop being dominated by people. He is not asking you to stop caring. He is asking you to care in order, care with wisdom, care with boundaries, care without surrendering your soul to every demand that knocks on the door. Now I want you to identify one place, not 10, one. One place where niceness has been costing you obedience. One place where being pleasant has been costing you clarity. One place where being available has been costing you time, health, calling, courage, prayer, focus, family, or peace. You know the place. You know the conversation. You know the person. You know the habit. You know the fear. You know where you keep saying yes while your spirit is saying, this is not assigned to me. Do not spiritualize it anymore. Do not decorate it with religious language. Do not call it patience if it is fear. Do not call it grace if it is avoidance. Do not call it humility if it is shame. Do not call it love if it is self-abandonment. Name it. Confront it. Bring it under the authority of God. Because what you refuse to confront will continue to govern. Make the decision. Set the boundary. Speak the truth. Return to the assignment. Stop asking fear for permission. Fear will never authorize your freedom. Fear will always tell you to wait until everybody understands, until everybody agrees, until nobody is disappointed, until no one questions your motives. But if you wait for a life without resistance, you will die with your assignment
still locked inside you. Move now. Not recklessly, not angrily, not emotionally. Move with conviction. Move with prayer. Move with discipline. Move with clean hands and a clear heart. But move. Send the message. End the cycle. Close the door. Have the conversation. Reclaim the time. Cancel the false obligation. Pick up the work God told you to do. Return to the original instruction. The longer you negotiate with what God told you to leave, the more expensive your obedience becomes. Your life is not public property. Your purpose is not a community vote. Your peace is not a playground for disorder. Your calling is not available for negotiation with insecure people. You were designed by God, assigned by God, equipped by God, and one day you will answer to God. Not to the crowd, not to the critics, not to the people who needed you weak so they could feel strong. To God. So from today, let your love have truth in it. Let your kindness have courage in it. Let your humility have identity in it. Let your yes have weight in it. Let your no have holiness in it. Stop living like your highest calling is to be easy to manage. You were not created to be manageable. You were created to be faithful. And if this word has found you, do not just listen and walk away unchanged. Put a declaration in the comments. I choose obedience over approval. Write it until your spirit hears it. Write the truth you are choosing to live according to God's original purpose. Say, I choose courage. Say, I choose assignment. Say, I choose holy boundaries. Say, I choose to answer to God first. And if you are committed to growing into kingdom identity, disciplined purpose, and courageous love, then stay connected. Subscribe, not for entertainment, but for formation. Because this is not about becoming popular. This is about becoming whole. This is about becoming faithful. This is about becoming the person God designed before people taught you to apologize for it.